The RMRs have been in the way, the qualifiers for the RMRs, and we've been sort of chipping away at them. But because of the way we do our qualifiers for the RMR, there's been obviously just tons and tons and tons of drama. And what do I mean by drama? I guess, you can say incompetence, you can say ineptitude, you can say people behaving in a nefarious manner. All of these things happen for the qualifiers. So I want to just set a few things up at the start, and then we're going to go through, in no particular order, all the big stories and talking points of the RMR. But let's just start with this. First of all, I did observe something that it sort of stuck in my craw a little bit. You will have seen, of course, there's been a ton of news lately. It's a recurring cyclical story. Valve make all this money from case openings, and it's Valve make 40 million in the first month of CS2's release, all the way through to today. I think it's like they've made $1 billion in a year, or whatever the headline is. And the bottom line is, in between all of that, we also had, look at all the sticker money the orgs made, and they made, there was 110 million from the Paris RMR, all in all, distributed among the teams. So, what you will have noticed is loads of these orgs that essentially sold CS out and said, there's just no path to viability, there's just no path to profitability. All of a sudden, they came back for this major, didn't they? They came back for this major qualifier. You saw like Secret and TSM and all these other orgs, and a bunch of people in NA were sort of sniffing around. At least EG continued to go into their diabolical fucking tailspin and not field their dog shit team. So, I mean, credit where credit's due, I suppose. But anyway, everybody was sort of like coming back to try and get a CS team to enter into these qualifiers so maybe they could cheese a way through and get this sticker money. And I have to say, this is indicative of just how cynical these team owners and org owners are when it comes to how they engage with CS. And it's always been this way. As soon as skins were around, that was mysteriously when it was like, oh, hey, everyone, we're from Call of Duty. We're not going to act like a bunch of Vikings and behave in a rapacious fashion and burn down your churches and steal all your gold. Don't worry about that. We're definitely not going to make kiddie casinos with skins, many of which these sites are dubious, don't use provably fair systems and all of this bullshit, and we definitely won't get out once that gets shut down. We're here to stay. So you had to deal with all of that. Then once the kind of ecosystem got set up, outside of the major sticker money, there really isn't a big windfall for CS. It's an incredibly expensive game because we had inflated salaries. Because what did we do? We were like, we have tournament operators that sort of know what they're doing now. We have orgs that sort of know how to run a team now. We've got players that are playing at an incredible level of excellence. We've got lawyers that are really going into the contracts and making them legally robust. You know what we need now? Bargaining power. So let's create some unions and let's get the agents in. And what started happening was the unions wanted to basically fucking behave as agents and make the players riled up over things that didn't really matter, demanding extra expenses for themselves. Like, for example, the player union, when players, I know this, obviously, from the CSPPA and all that, when players were asked, like, what would be your big W's for player rights, they're all like, well, better flights and PCs in the hotel room and, and it's like, oh, God, okay, we're not really fighting for anything particularly important here, are we? And then obviously the agents came in, and the agents, much like everyone in esport is living out a fantasy. They failed and they come here and they live out a fantasy that's akin to what they could have had if they'd been good, if they'd been successful. And by the way, if you want to sling that shit at me and go, you couldn't have been a real journalist anywhere else, all right, fine. Yeah, big fish, small pond. I'm the same as every other fucking loser in this business. Now what, right? So these agents come in and they behave like it's football, and they go, "Oh, my client couldn't play for less than $50,000 a month, and also we're gonna need bonuses, performance bonuses, and a 10% salary increase if they're still contracted at the end of the year, and and it's got to be a minimum of 2 years, ideally 3." And they're doing all this, and the org's going, "Yeah, but wait, this is a short-term business. It's actually not good to be signed for more than a year. 50,000 feels a bit more expensive." And the agents go, it's this or nothing. And of course, on top of that, you have just got orgs who will just fucking throw money at people because they just want the players. It's their little fantasy. They're Jerry Jones at the Cowboys. How's that working out? How's your fantasy today, dickhead? But what they do is they fucking come in and they basically just want to have the team they want and the players they want, and they think they're going to win, and they're going to be the most winningest, and they're going to be like Nicole, and they're going to be in the trophy room, and they're going to be like, you know, Scrooge McDuck diving into the money pile, but it's not money, it's trophies, and life is like a hurricane, and they're just going to be doing that, right? That's what they want. That's literally what their pea brains are telling them is good for the industry. And so that's what we end up with. We end up with a fucking ridiculous top-down, you know, just everyone's overpaid at the top. No one pays in at the bottom. We're fucked. We're fucked. We've got something that's just so, you know, the agents really help there. More on that later. But anyway, the point of all of this stuff is that they come back for the stickers because if you get a big windfall, ooh, then it pays for itself. What if I min-maxed? What if I picked up a shit team of like reject players and we just fluked our way into a major, got the sticker money, and then I could be like, right, great job, guys. Oh, we flamed out the major, did we? Regrettably, TSM must drop the CS team due to unforeseen circumstances. Yeah, it's going to be that. So all these orgs that have come in, they're getting out super quick. Don't think they're here for the long term. And this is why, and I've done videos on this before, why are we welcoming these guys back? Like, why are we saying, oh, TSM's back? Oh, hallelujah. Not hallelujah. They're a shadow of themselves, you know? Like, it's a fucking joke. So that pissed me off initially because, you know, what does it say about the state of our game that these orgs are like, oh, yes, now is the right time. We're so jazzed about CS2. Wrong! No one is excited about CS2. They're here for the sticker money in March. Next, the other thing I noticed. These open qualifiers, I'm gonna say this, and this is controversial. This is, oh my God, Richard, you've turned into an elitist. Yeah, I guess. I'm sick of these open qualifiers, my dudes. I'm sick of 1,024 teams, 95% of them all amateur fucking losers, all signing up, all clogging up the fucking system for the qualifiers because we don't have an official ranking system because these people don't even play half the time, and all of the cheating and all of the delays and all of the misery and all of the pain. It's like the FGC. It's like the FGC and everything I hate about the FGC, which is that, you know, we're wasting time having these bums even enter the tournament in the first place. There's got to be a better way, like a side tournament for shitters where maybe like the top 4 get lifted into a serious qualifier or something like that. But it's just ridiculous, and it's so unwieldy. There's too many teams entering these qualifiers. I mean, the fucking Asian RMR, we'll talk about that in a minute, 3,000 teams have signed up. 3,000 teams. And by the way, if you think the cheating and the fuckery has been bad in Europe and NA, oh yeah, wait till you see the match-fixing allegations and the cheating allegations. Oh, well, you won't see it. Forget about it. It's Chinatown. So, you know, why are we doing this? What are we doing this for? Like, who does it benefit? I know Valve actually like this system. They get off on, they've always have, on the fantasy of 5 random players all get good and they all make money from a game they made. They really like that idea, but that's just not what esports is. Esports hasn't been that for a decade. So I don't know why we're persisting in doing something that just creates issues every year. Now, if we had, this is why watching these online qualifiers, bring back the minors. There you go. Just bring it back. Bring back the minors, have a qualifier for the minor, a small qualifier for the minor, a minor, they get lifted in with serious qualifier. It's going to create extra tiers, but it's actually going to be more manageable in the long run because these huge 1,024 brackets, the website crash, the anti-cheat crashes, games run over, there's delays, there's cheating allegations. You've got 5 admins on a Discord trying to figure out who's doing what. Meanwhile, someone's jumped ahead and played 2 games they might not even be eligible for. And then everyone goes, why does Valve not care about the RMRs? And it's like, it's not even them, bro. Like, they're not running it. Why are you angry at them? This isn't even PGL's fault. It's a problem of scale that we keep doing this stuff. And, like, listen, esports might be for everybody. Cool. Richard Lewis still agrees with that, talking about himself in the third person. But what I'll also say is, it's not for everybody to get in at the highest level on day fucking one. You play Sunday League before you get to the Prem. You know? Like, you don't just go in to the fucking big leagues just because it's kind of like romantic. Fuck romance, dude. Let's have things that work. How romantic can you be about something that's controlled by China, funded by Saudi Arabia, and just filled with grifters? Who even cares? What romantic notion are we holding on to at this point? So, I wanted to get that out the way before we even start getting into it. Let's start with this, because this is just funny. This is the announcement that Joel, who you will, of course, remember as having had an ESIC ban that then once again, after a lawyer got involved, got brought forward. This is Joel being announced as coming into the TSM lineup specifically for playing in the RMR just 2 days after his ban subsided. Now, I got my own opinions on this anyway. I really didn't like the way that this has sort of been handled. Again, it's another thing that undermines ESIC. It's another thing that really sort of shows how there just are no consequences. Joel denies match fixing. You know, cool, I guess, but also has sort of tried to play off betting on his own games, which there's just no excuse for. And if it's good enough that Ivan Toney fucking serves like an insane 9-month ban, then what the fuck are we doing with this? Also, I've got to say, like, for him, with all of his baggage, because it's not just that one-off incident, people have been talking about Joel for ages. Remember when I broke down that lunatic ESIC whistleblower and broke down all of his stuff? He was fucking sharing screenshots. Then they don't meet the evidentiary standard to ban someone or take action. But put it this way, there's a lot of fucking smoke around this one particular fire. You might want to switch what fuel you're burning there. And listen, straight into a team like TSM, there's no accountability. There's no consequences anymore. If you don't get absolutely nailed to the wall for doing something bad, you just get to keep working in esports. And, you know, we've seen this time and time again. How many times is Hunden going to get hired? You know what I mean? Like, how many opportunities are we going to give these people? And I have to say, though, he did win it back because he posted some unbelievable turbo cringe. So I'm like, great stuff, Joel. Because remember, this is all his own doing. He's made these choices. Yes, he's young. We all make mistakes. People deserve second chances. Not saying otherwise. Maybe you don't get a second chance or a third chance immediately and then airlifted into a one of the top, most valuable, allegedly, esports organizations in the world level of second chances, but whatever. But he did post some fucking unbelievable turbo cringe that I just wanted to start the RMR drama breakdown by talking about. Really hard to sort of process this one. You can see here, this is the TSM saying, we're going to add him for a 2-month probational period. LOL, we're only in it for the stickers, lol. Right, we're just adding him for 2 months. They've dropped Jax now as well, of course. He will assist in bringing a greater balance to our roles while also adding the firepower to our squad. And he said, they don't hate the good ones, they hate the great ones. Kobe Bryant, this is Joel, who's done absolutely fucking nothing in his career to consider himself great, and to compare yourself to a legend of sports like Kobe Bryant by using this quote is frankly fucking embarrassing, right? Then, it's easy to win because most motherfuckers are weak. Again, this is Joel. How did TSM do in the RMRs again? Was it easy to win for TSM? I seem to see they lost and didn't get through. But whatever. And then, in the end, we will remember not the words of our enemies, but the silence of our friends. Martin Luther King Jr. So we just get a bit of old MLK in there while we're talking about the ban that he got, which was completely justified because he bet on his own games, which is a violation of ethics. And that's before we get into anything else he might have done. He bet on other people's games as well, which, again, same stuff. But yeah, obviously, the silence of his friends, because remember, he in his mind, because he took no accountability for everything he's done, him in his mind, he was actually the victim. All his friends all his friends walked away from him. Some accused him of cheating. So, I am 14 and this is deep. Embarrassing. Right. Let's start with some general complaints about the major. One of the things you do right now, if you're a player or a personality, and NATO Sapphics is harvesting this stuff at the moment, a classic Clout Goblin, Bubski's another one, you know the type. But everybody's doing this at the moment, and that is, if you want to just get some clicks and you want to get some updates and you want to get some attention, you just shit on CS2 and everything about CS2. That's all you have to do, and then they all come flocking. If I called this stream CS2 is shit, let's talk about it, there'd be millions of people here. Like, it's just embarrassing. Like, there's no critical thinking at all around the critique of the game. So anyway, Nico did a tweet. Nico just said, it's pretty sad to see what's happening in the qualifiers for the first CS2 major. Happy tier. So, I don't know. Does that mean he's smiling through the tears? Or is it a sad lol? Or did he use the wrong emoji? I guess we'll never know. But Nico publicly posted that he wasn't participating in the RMRs, not the qualifiers at that time. So let's talk about what was happening, and I'm going to use that tweet as a jump-off point for all of the problems. So what ended up happening? There were delays. Right, what happened was PGL were using a third-party website with a kernel-level anti-cheat, which everybody wants, right? Remember, you want your kernel-level anti-cheats, yeah? And there were so many people signing up and so interested, and it was brackets of 1,024 or whatever it is, teams over and over again. That obviously, for the first week, it was a nightmare. People were signing in, games were starting late, games were crashing, you had a 10-minute ready-up time at the start of the game, and if not everybody got on the server and got into the anti-cheat and got readied up in time, the game was forfeited to one team or the other. So admins had to manually go in and reset the teams and reset the game so people could play. But there was only a limited admin team, right? So why was this happening? Well, in particular, the anti-cheat. Remember, kernel-level anti-cheats are amazing and flawless. No, there's ups and downsides to everything. And the only thing we've ever talked about in terms of critique for the kernel-level anti-cheats has always been, oh, it's intrusive, it's invasive. I'll ignore that. Let's just imagine that there wasn't governments around the world that would use gaming as a vector to see what you're doing or identify people or get compromising material on them off their hard drives and use it against them or whatever it is. Imagine we didn't live in that world and everyone was just innocent and blah blah blah. Let me tell you about the other thing no one talks about with kernel level anti-cheats. Performance problems. Performance issues are one of those things that come with a kernel level anti-cheat. You're running an extra piece of software that has the interface with another game and you've got to log into it and you've got to do all that stuff. And it's like, listen, back in the day, people used to fucking have to choose about because there was some like anti-cheats like Equitas, X-Ray, Early Faceit. There was people who had to sort of choose between like, well, I just can't use it. It just doesn't play nice with my machine. And if I'm playing in a league, I'm not going to run it because I'd rather have the performance. And then if I get asked for my demo, I'm fucked. Or if I get asked for, whatever, Punk Buster, yeah, all of this stuff. Battle Eye, easy anti-cheat. There's just some kernel level anti-cheats. Some of these anti-cheat software that we've used down the years, they just fuck around. They fuck with drivers, they fuck with your system, they don't work on certain chipsets. There's all sorts of problems. And obviously as well, sometimes you just get a ridiculous, inexplicable reduction in performance. Now, what was happening here was people were logging into the anti-cheat, people were getting into the games, people were getting insane ping. I mean, like, 17 million ping, like just fucking ridiculous stuff. So this is Kassad, by the way. We'll talk about Bleed in a little bit. Bleed had a fucking nightmare. Currently, a lot of players are experiencing connectivity issues with the anti-cheat that shows 17,000 ping, but for some players, it's working normally. So that was one of the issues that were going on. Now, it certainly didn't help that there was a new anti-cheat update on the same day, and people were fucking sort of wrapping their head around that. People had used the software before, but ultimately it was a fucking shit show right at the start. People were having problems with this, but again, this would all be resolved if we weren't doing a huge 2024 qualifier with amateur players that don't even know things, how to use these things or whatever. It could have been resolved relatively quickly. Now, what I also thought was super interesting, because of course people complained about Acros and their anti-cheat. People were saying, this anti-cheat shit. It's like, guys, do you want a kernel level anti-cheat or not? I can't understand you anymore. Like, if it's essential to have these things, then we need it for competitive play. And yeah, unfortunately, it might come with some performance issues, and people might... Nothing is fucking perfect. Everything's a fucking payoff. I'm so sick of the average esports fan who just thinks, Valve have money, so perfection demanded for every... It's like, it doesn't work like that, guys. Money does not fix everything. So it just... crazy shit. So the anti-cheat was a nightmare at first. Then, do you want to know what else happened? I've got a few little bits and pieces that people don't realize. In the middle of the first day of the qualifiers, first couple of days, when all of this was happening, and admins, many of whom who were volunteers, were absolutely stretched to breaking point, do you know what people did? Well, here's what people did. People were going into the Discord and they were spamming admins. Then when admins didn't respond in a fashion they deemed timely, read immediately because they're Counter-Strike fans / players, people started spamming the official support Discord with pornography. Somebody sent me some screenshots, can't show them here, but yeah, they started spamming it with fucking porn, right? While people tried to get their head around, while the admins are trying to get their head around what's going on. So they did that. Then on top of that, let me tell you another thing that was going on. Because there was no verification system, because it's just a temporary RMR, people were impersonating other people. Right, so for instance, somebody joined the Discord called Official Kassad or something and was fucking around trying to make it hard for Bleed and being super rude to all of the admins and stuff, trying to get them disqualified and shit like that. So what was going on? It's like still waters run deep whenever you're doing these qualifiers, right? What people were seeing did look like a clusterfuck. What people don't ever talk about, and this is what always pisses me off, they don't get all of the facts and then go, oh yeah, the participants actually made it harder for all of these issues to be resolved. Why would they do that? I'll tell you why they would do that. Because people don't actually want esports to be good, and they don't want tournaments to be good, and they don't want things to be fixed. They want to complain because they are entitled rich babies. This is what esports sort of is. You got a two-tier system right now. You've got the free-to-play people who are still playing on a fucking toaster, right, and going, I can't get more than 60 FPS on CS2. Fuck Valve. You have them, and then at the other and the only other type of fan is some entitled, wealthy fucking child who just gets everything they want all of the fucking time. And by the way, the gap between, the IQ of all of them, about 5. No one has any intelligence or common sense in this space anymore. So they would fuck up their own tournament so they could tweet about how shit their own the tournament they are, they're in is. That's where we're at. That's esports in 2024, by the way, guys. And I'm fucking bored of it. Is there any excuse to fuck up a volunteer admin's day by spamming porn or impersonating someone and feeding them disinformation when they're fucking fried? Some of those admins work 16-hour days, by the way, just to try and get this qualifier over the line. And people like Nico, they don't do a tweet and spare a thought for them. They just say, it's so sad, boo-hoo. Volunteer your time then, cunt. Yeah, didn't think so. But Valve makes so much money, so why don't they pay for staff? Valve aren't running the event. Why don't PGL? They hired a third party. Why don't the third party? Because this is economies of scale, and no one makes any money in this fucking business. It's all super fucking easy and obvious to understand, but you want to complain about it. So fuck that, right? So there was that. Then Nico wasn't alone, obviously. And you can see here, Shocks went, I'm really sad about the qualifications for the major. And he tagged in PGL, he tagged in Acros, and he tagged in the official Counterstrike Twitter account. Of course, I can't get any undeniable proofs, but I do trust my 22 years of the game I've played and my 10 plus years at a professional level at it. And he's talking about cheaters here, obviously. He has done a where is the proofs line there, but that's fine. And he carried on the second part of the tweet. There are so many kids and people that made sacrifices, worked, used their time, had faith in their dreams and tried to fulfill them. During the last 8 days, they got their dreams and their hopes shattered because of cheaters. I'm crying for them tonight. And he followed it up with another, I like if you cry every time. My heart goes out to those who worked hard and believed in their dreams. Now, this is obviously the end of the RMR. People were still sort of crying about it. Now, what had really happened in all of that? Yeah, there were cheaters. By the way, I do just want to remind everybody, in fact, I'll be able to demonstrate this to you. I saw people going, there's so many cheaters in this online qualifier. CS2 broken. VAC broken. Right? Well, they're using a third-party anti-cheat. People were getting caught, right? Oh, so many cheaters. It's like, guys, it is an online qualifier for the most lucrative tournament in the fucking game. Do you think people, amateurs, nobodies, might cheat? Oh, yeah. Have they always been doing that? Oh, yeah. But again, this is the clout seekery that goes on with players. They want to show you they're on your side. And your side is dumb. Your side is saying, the CS has fallen. The game is dead. Most played game on Steam. Valve don't care. Literally, why even bother porting CSGO across to a whole new engine with all of your skins? Why bother? If they don't care, why just not make a sequel? Why put it on the next engine at all if they don't care? The things you say are dumb. And yes. All right, Pal World has arrived in the chat. Dun, 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 dun. I'm a Pokemon rip-off. Yeah, brilliant. Great. Guys, come on. Like, that's at the minute. That's a fucking fad, right? That's a fad. That's what we call a fad. Anyway, let's get back to this. So what had actually happened to sort of trigger these tears and crying every time? Well, actually, not really a lot of much in terms of cheating. There was a funny tweet in all caps from John DeCastro. Hello, PGL esports and Challenger mode. How can I play against a heavy cheater named Biffy66 with the most obvious wall hack and calls for his teammates, and you can't do anything about it? I can't believe this. Now, by the way, one of the things that all tournament operators hate, particularly when they're in the heat of the moment and running a tournament, particularly a big one that's super stressful with lots of moving parts and a high level of scrutiny, do you know what they hate? You taking it to Twitter. There is a support Discord. Lodge complaint, sit and wait. But players can't do that. Why is this happening to me? Why? Why is it happening to me? Right? You just lodge complaint, sit, wait, be calm, be seated. It's going to get solved. But they can't. They're children. They're literal children. And so Biffy66... Guess what? Biffy66 was cheating. I would say if I'm playing against someone called Biffy66, I'm suspicious from the get-go, right? I mean, fair play, right? But anyway, let's just look, okay? So this is 9:12 p.m. on January 12th. Hysterical all-caps tweet, right? He has complained about Biffy66, the heavy cheater. Gets to 10:06, so it's a little under an hour. Back on Twitter again. No communication after our loss has taken place. This was... it is a 2014 open bracket qualifier for the major, which, by the way, it's not even like 1024. They got fucking like people in the waiting list, waiting in the wings in case anyone drops out at the start. That was another thing causing delays, because they actually limited it for EU and NA, but didn't for Asia. More on that in a moment. But no communication after our loss has taken place. This was one of the most obvious cheating games I'd played in a long time, and I hope action will follow. Do you think action's gonna follow, boys? Do you think it is? Because you know what, I think actually, yeah, probably action will follow. Like, people don't want cheaters to qualify for the major, and there's a series of fucking checks and balances, and all you have to do is display a little bit of patience instead of having a fucking Benny after 50 minutes of having to wait for something. And then by 11:07, so again, under 2 hours it's taken to resolve this in this unbelievable big tournament, hoping humanity restored, they got disqualified. Thanks, everyone, for spreading the word. Do you think spreading the word influenced any of this? Do you think it was like, oh, the fact that the word was spread and it was on HLTV forums and it was on the fucking CS subreddit? Do you think that fucking made any difference whatsoever? Absolutely not. Of course, it was a case file on a massive pile, because do you want to know what else fucking slowed this tournament down? False allegations. Oh yeah, there were a ton of them, false allegations, and people went, okay, well, we'll review the demos, we'll do what we can, we'll talk to people, we'll look at the anti-cheat files. Because nobody can take fucking losing in esports either. So anyway, it turns out Biffy66 was the bad one, right? And thanks to PGL Challenge Mode for actually doing the work at the end. Your thanks is worthless now, mate. You've called them a cunt to the fucking world. Not once, but twice, because they didn't solve this problem amidst this huge fucking tournament in 2 hours. Now, by the way, 2 hours would be completely unacceptable if it was like, we're at E-League and there's 16 teams, right? But I will remind you, we have 2 hour tech gaps. We've had 2 hour tech gaps at majors. Right? We've had 2 hour tech gaps at the biggest tournaments in the world, right? But I would say resolving an issue like this, that would be unacceptable in a smaller tournament. Guys, the scale of the work they were doing, time is the bottleneck for everything. That's what CS fans just don't get anymore. It's not money, it's not resources, it's time. So we had that, right? That was one of the cheating allegations. Now let's also get to this. A little bit of Reddit. Obviously, I don't know if you've seen the CS subreddit these days. Have you seen it? Seen the subreddit? Yeah, you've seen them, haven't you? You've seen them. The rappers, yeah? You've seen the rappers, yeah? That they have these days. You've seen the subreddits they have these days, yeah? The esports subreddits that they have these days. Well, what they're doing here on this subreddit is they're fucking having just a mass tantrum about everything that relates to CS2 over and over and over again. And I've been saving and collating some of the most like nausea-inducing ones. I do want to say for the 2024 Gonzo Awards, CS fans are really in fucking serious consideration for being the worst fans in esports. I mean, watch this space. It'll be a long year, but they are really just ridiculous. And it's just constant whining, and it's like, guys, I've been here before. There's never been a launch of a Counter-Strike game where where at the start it's been good. Never. Not one. Not one, by the way. There's always been problems. CS beta, nightmare. Fucking nightmare mode. Scopes on the fucking M4s. Fucking P90, the strongest gun in the game, like insta headshot death, 50 bullets in a clip. What you gonna do? Like, these games were, every launch is terrible. Source, terrible, unplayable until Zblock turned up. Even when they brought in the number patches for Counter-Strike, there were problems at the start. Condition 0. Don't even get me into just the problems with that game and griefing with the riot shield. You just block people into corners with riot shields on pubs and all sorts of shit. And CSGO was no fucking different, right? CSGO was fucking absolutely diabolical for the first year while Hidden Path were overseeing development. It's like, guys, I've done this before, and I'm trying to explain to you why being patient and having faith will generally pan out with Valve as they develop their games. I want to remind you, it's not just Counter-Strike. Valve games generally have been excellent, but they have been excellent after some polish. They don't arrive perfect. Not many AAA games do. You know, I was there on the Left 4 Dead and Left 4 Dead 2 launches. A ton of problems were like desync and blah, blah, blah. They went on to be some of the most beloved multiplayer games. Team Fortress 2, when that came out, I was there. I was on a competitive Team Fortress 2 team back in the day. TF2 had a ton of problems as well at launch. You know, it's just one of these things. You iron it out, you patch it out, it gets better. Within a year, we're all looking back and we're going, what the fuck were we complaining about again? I can't even remember some of the bugs in the game. But anyway, the subreddit's not doing that right now. And so every time there's a thread where we get to like say, Valve don't care and Valve have all the money, so Valve should care. But because Valve make money, they don't care. Like, how dare Valve make money from their games is essentially the premise. And it doesn't even hold up or make sense. Valve never need to make anything ever again. They could just be the company that runs Steam. That is it. And that would make them one of the most profitable companies in the world ever. Like, you just sit back. Like, number goes up. That's all they have to do. Well, they're not doing that. They've made unbelievable kit. Like, say, last year, they overhauled 2 of their radical titles, massive content update for TF2, updates to the Steam Deck, which is an incredible piece of kit, updates to their VR stuff. It's like, it was a great year for Valve. It was actually a great year for Valve, and they did great things. But you don't want to say that, because my game a bit different and bad for a few months. It's pathetic, guys. It really is pathetic. You may as well just hold up a sign saying you're a child, because you just are at that point, right? So anyway, when all of this was popping off, obviously, front page Reddit post, because why wouldn't there be? Here it is. The new RMR AC system, by the way, it's not an RMR anti-cheat system. It is a kernel-level anti-cheat used by the company that happens to be running the RMR. There's no system. We've always, whichever org is running the RMRs, you use their anti-cheat solutions. That's just been the rule ever since the major started. And Valve not caring about their first CS2 major is disappointing. Valve aren't running this. By the way, do you know how many majors Valve have run? 0. They've not run a single major. They don't. Orgs pitch for it and say, we're going to do this. And by the way, this isn't even really the major. This is the detritus, the shit that we force on ourselves by having the system we have. And so, obviously, you start with Valve, PGL pitch, they get the major, now we have to do qualifiers, we don't want to do that, we've got to get ready for the major because we've only got a couple of months to do it, we're going to hire these companies to run the qualifiers. So, you know, it's ridiculous to say it's Valve that don't care, right? And I'm so sick of hearing, Valve don't care. Like, what would you know? Valve don't talk. That's a valid criticism that I think is an anachronism in the modern games development age. But anyway, here it is. You gotta love the appeals to authority they always throw in. I am a CS veteran since Counterstrike 1.5 back in 2001. I totally didn't Google that 1.5 was in 2001. And I just want to stipulate these 2 facts just to add credibility to my argument. And there, everyone's like, wow, whoa. A veteran? Thanks for your service. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? But the latest news about the RMR AC choice and the backslash from pro community started to worry me. By the way, Nico, when you do tweets like that, all the guys having tantrums instead of going through the proper channels, this is the garbage you encourage. The morons are on standby to take cues from people who are only slightly less of a moron than they are. I was deeply, truly waiting for CS2 release with eager. I stopped playing CS for 1 year or more, and I kept about $15 on my Steam account just in case of Operation release. But it's been 2 years, and we have nothing. You've got a whole new game, you fucking chucklehead. What are you talking about? I kept that $15 I could have been using for firewood. You fucking morons. Anyway, by the way, why does anyone expect that CS2 is going to release an operation before the game is even fixed? Like, what even is that? Who believes that? Who believes that's a good idea? Well, you know what? We've still got hit reg problems, desync issues. People are really unsatisfied with the movement, among other things. You know, so what I think we do is now is the perfect time for an operation, actually. By the way, if Valve released an operation before the game was fixed in the eyes of the community, the tantrums, the tears would be worse than what we've got at the moment. That's the catch-22 you're in. We've got no content. Shit, let's just make content. We'll make content for a broken game. Why are they making content instead of fixing the game? You people are diseased. You are diseased. You deserve nothing. I hope Valve walk away from CS2 and just go, you know what? After this major... yeah, that's it. We don't make Counter-Strike anymore. Enjoy. Fuck you. I really hope they do, but they won't. Anyway, the new year passed and we are still in beta access of the game. The game is playable for me, but the lack of content, and especially anti-cheat, is disappointing. You can't win on the anti-cheat front either. It is against Valve's philosophy to make kernel-level anti-cheat. That's where we're at currently. I have no idea if that would change in the future, but that's always held true. They've updated the anti-cheat recently and banned like tens of thousands of accounts, all using a particular kind of cheat. And they don't care. The anti-cheat's not even on. They're fake banning people. It's like, how if it's off, why are there false positives? Like, everything that people say is just so dumb. Like, it's just so dumb. For anyone, like, again, it's like... people repeat that, and like 80 IQ people like lap that up like circus seals. Yeah, that's right. And it's like, if you just are like 82 IQ, you realize that's like not even logical. It makes no sense. Anyway, if they show no love to their first major with mediocre system of AC, this means that this game has a long time to fix to CSGO state. I am not trying to be Loba mode, but I am being... you'd love his content, mate. It's great. It's perfect for you. It's just a guy grunting as he plays Counter-Strike. It's perfect. But I am being genuine here. I started losing interest in this game, even though I still love it. But it's in the hands of devs right now, and their choices are making it even harder for the future proof of this game. Shame! Nothing to do, by the way, with any of the problems in the RMR, but upvoted because everyone wants to just type the same thing cyclically about how fucking the Valve don't care. Yeah, there were a few, like, dodgy bits going on. There were people who were banned. I'ma just say this. What a way to handle this. What does it say when even the people running the event are going in for like clout chasing? This is one of the worst PR. It's not even PR. It's like the opposite of PR. It's like anti-PR. I don't even know how this can happen. This was what Acros said, because they were getting hammered. They were getting all the backlash. People were blaming them for all the problems, all the cheats, all the disqualifications, all the delays, right? And so this was their tweet. They did delete it, right? But there it is. Updating the Counter-Strike community. Again, they are running a qualifier for the major, and they are tagging in Valve, essentially. Updating the Counter-Strike community on current ban numbers by Acros during the open qualifiers on Challenger mode. We have banned over 30 cheaters since the start of the event, permanently from all future Acros-protected events. The cheats detected by our team have been almost entirely kernel or hardware-based cheats. Now, I'ma just say this, and this is probably going to upset people, but, you know, who cares? 1,024 teams, minimum, 5 players per team. What's the math on that? That's 5,120, right? So, 30, right, out of 5,120 players. He's going to say it. I'm going to say it. I don't care that you broke your elbow. I'm going to say it. That's fuck all, lads. That's nothing. That's not even a percent. Well, what are we doing? Like, are we really upset about that? In the most lucrative tournament in, like, CS has, 30 people got caught cheating. But then look how Acros follow this up. The cheats detected by our team have been almost entirely kernel or hardware-based cheats. We're continuing to hand out bans via automated analysis and review cases as they're submitted. Our experience during this event has taught us one very important thing. Cheating in CS2 is utterly and completely out of control. Now, I do not know what the fuck you are thinking saying that as a tournament operator when we are talking about 0.6% of participants in an amateur event are cheating. That sounds very manageable, actually. What, and you caught them all? Out of control. Cheating in CS2. So they literally have just fed into that fucking meme, the Reddit meme. It's not our fault. Cheating's out of control. It's your job to control it, you cunts. And it sounds like you're doing a good job. So why not lean into that? But no, they go the other way. Let's try and appeal to the fucking clout goblins. Let's try and fucking, get into the Reddit mindset. There's cheaters everywhere. Everyone's cheating. They're cheating against the pros. They're cheating in the RMRs. Valve don't care. Anti-cheat's not even turned on. Let's just lean into that, shall we? That's really helpful for the major qualifiers. Great job, Akros. And it's like, it doesn't even hold up as an excuse, because it's like, if the cheating is utterly and completely out of control, how are you catching and banning these people? And if it's also completely and utterly out of control, isn't the implication there that maybe your anti-cheat isn't catching people, and therefore, what the fuck are we using you for? And they have literally tagged in Valve. Think about the stupidity of that. Hey, Valve, we're running your qualifier. We've been, we've been picked up by PGL to run this qualifier, Valve, and cheating in your game is out of control, by the way, and it's you. It's your fault. You. Brilliant. Great thought process, guys. Absolutely insane. So, I was very, surprised at seeing them try and handle it that way. And again, I'll just show you, there was just some general other criticisms from players I'll just throw in there. There was this from Mighty Max, who, we like Mighty Max. He's part of the No Majors Club alumni. And you can see our next opponent might be a talent, but let's find out. And it's a Weeb Counter-Strike account with 13 hours on record playing in the qualifier for the major. And he's like, so, yeah, get him out. We should just ban all anime avatars anyway. That would solve a lot of problems, actually. There you go, something to think about. There was this from Spellan as well. This is pure garbage. Pure garbage. I don't even know what team he's at now. Is it? Yeah, it says there in his bio. The Chosen Few esports, right? Anyway, this is pure garbage, leading 10-6 against a Vanguard. Then all of a sudden, our player gets disconnected 4 times in a row from the server because of anti-cheat bug, and we played 4 versus 5 and lost the game because of that. Thank you for the major qualifier, challenger mode. And players' dreams is still Spellan. Players dream and work for this for months and years just to get this qualifier for the biggest event of the year. I have no more words. Then it turned out he did have more words. Here it is. Thanks for the answer and support, challenger mode. Just another wasted qualifier to the biggest event of the year for us. No problem. Who cares? That's what they said. Now, listen. I've heard varying bits and pieces about that particular story. They're blaming the anti-cheat. Some people are implying they got DDoSed. They exist in that murky world, don't they? Where they just fucking go out there and they're playing in all these dog shit tier 3 tournaments and joining, fucking TeamSpeaks where mods can rip IPs and all that, And it's like, listen, I agree if tech problems legitimately kick a player and cause an issue, it's super weird as well that they've gone immediately to then we lost to a Vanguard. And it's like, well, why didn't you all pause? Why didn't everybody pause? I thought, isn't that the rule that we usually do? That the other team should pause and wait for you? Isn't that the usual thing that we cry about? Oh, that's interesting. But anyway, so listen, those things happen in online qualifiers. The best thing to do is if it's genuinely a tech problem, everyone has to wait. That's how that works. But a bunch of people intimated that there might have been some DDoSing going on there. I don't fucking know. There was a big drama as well very early on. There was a disqualification. What happened here was there was a team from Russia, where else, called Vidar, and they broke the rules. And what happened here was, and get this, by the way, not only did they break the rules, they streamed themselves breaking the rules. This is Rufire, who was the coach, and he sat on Discord with the players while he watched the whole match and was just calling stuff out to them before. So, like,
Хорош, Фокси, паузу.
there it is. Хорош! Хорош!
Паузу. Тактическую. Можно воткните вторую сразу же, окей, после этой.
Какие?
Фоксис, братик. Ты хочешь опять Зигу сходить?
Да.
Сходи вон Торекса, забери. У него узишка просто, брат. С узишкой как-то не хочется играть дефолт.
So there you go. You see them narrowly beat, because these were best of ones as well. You see them narrowly beat OG. OG went out. OG did also crash out and played like dog shit anyway. But then Vidar got disqualified for breaking the rules, which seems standard. But obviously, we always have to have a bit of, does this happens?
Yeah, Foxy's diffusing and smoke. Oh my god. You see? We're losing 4 versus 2 like noobs. Admin, I need help, please. We lose game because of admin. Help. Nexus, hello, could I main admin contact me, please? Because someone fucked my ass. Oh, it's so pain, you know. Foxy, Impala fuck my ass, admin. Can you help me, please, Nexus? Please. Next time I will write, what are you doing on Faceit when I meet Foxys, you know? Because Foxys on top 10 in the world and I'm just sucking dick, you know? Admin, help. Nexus, please. Write on Twitter, everywhere.
Could have also not broke the rules, but what do I know? But yeah, I think in that qualifier, I think OG went out, but they did get through eventually. I'm going to show you all the teams that qualified at the end of this anyway. Next, over in the Americas qualifier, I have never seen anything as washed as this. This is ridiculous. This is like just unbelievable that this is thing. We've had the Last Dance, the Last Dance for real, the fucking the Last Dance. But yeah, definitely this time. And then Plano came into it, and yeah, they got absolutely battered. You can see here by Bombrill 1001. Look at KNG. I remember when we did a piece of content, probably on By the Numbers, and we were talking about like biggest waste of talent ever in CS. And it's got to be KNG. Like, it just has to be. He went from being one of the most exciting, aggressive AWPers in the world to this. Like, it's actually great. Like, 100 thieves. Like, you know, like, all like just could have been so different. And now he's getting 6 kills against Bombrill 1001. Insane. So they went out. So, I mean, like, washed. There was some insane washed bullshit. So yeah, Bleed had a bit of a nightmare. Basically, they didn't qualify in the end. They lost all of in the 4 attempts that they had. You know, they lost some games. Obviously, they're a new team. They've just recently been put together. There's been a lot of excitement about them because, you know, there's some decent names at the team. It's not like an immediate amazing tier 1 team, but it is what it is. So, right, what ended up happening with Bleed on one of their attempts, they basically lost one of their goes. They lost the 3rd attempt. So they'd already lost games in 1 and 2, and then it gets to the 3rd, and, you know, when your luck's not in, it's just not in. You can see here, Kassad, while we were at the hospital with Lonks, one of our players didn't check in on time, and we were on the waiting list and didn't make it to the bracket. Sad. But that's what happened. So they had like an absolute nightmare, basically. Lonks, their player, or Lanks, if it's pronounced like that, he had an instance where he had like high fever, vomiting, and he had to go to hospital. And so while they were in hospital, they were like, look, we'll get registered, we're going to see what we can do. And then not all of the players registered in time for the 1024, or again, I don't even know if I'm saying the right number, if it's 24 or 56 or whatever, but I'm pretty sure it's 1024. They didn't register in time. And a lot of people were speculating as to who might have fucked it up and who made the mistake. Cypher obviously did this tweet. A lot of people laid it on his doorstep, and this was kind of straight fire. Kicking in 1025th gives you an award, and it's obviously a picture of Munacy winning an award at the HLTV Awards. So that was actually pretty funny. But you have to own it. You have to own it. But yeah, people were blaming him. I don't know if it was actually him or if he's just leaning into the memes. But that seemed to be like what everyone settled upon. But then it turned out, right, that Kassad went big brain and he went and looked at the rules. And there's no limit in the rules. They arbitrarily capped it off at 1024, and everyone who signed in after that was on a waiting list. But there were no rules. He said he looked at the rule book. There should be no cap on the qualifier. That's why it's called an open, which is, kind of he's trying to be a little bit tricksy there with the language. But the rule book doesn't have any rule in as to why there should be a hard cap at 1024. And so they missed an opportunity to qualify. They went into the fourth one to qualify and lost. And obviously, Kassad said, I'm taking the L on this one. Not enough time on the server was the biggest issue, but in time, we will get better. He openly took the responsibility. Then, if things just got weird after this, he decided, Kassad, I don't know why you would do this. I wouldn't do this, but he did. He said, in the spirit of transparency, I will post our schedule during this boot camp. Opponents and the maps we played are obviously removed due to teams' privacy in their map pool. And it's a whole schedule, and it's, everything they did in that time, right? And so, I guess that's interesting for, like, aspiring coaches or, whatever it is. And then, I like KRL's my boy. We'll go way back with KRL. And Kassad's my boy. And when you're watching your boys fight, you know what you do? You just sit there and fucking, you just enjoy it. You don't get involved. You don't take a side. You let everyone do it. But KRL rocked up, and he just said, no one cares. Who asked? He hit him with that. No one cares. You failed the qualification. Not a big deal with the time you have. Move on, right? And he's done moo like a cow. I don't know if that's like a special digging, right? You just hit him with a fucking no one cares. By the way, absolutely egregious. Like there's no need for him to fucking even reply to that. But he just has, right? So you kind of fuck with it. Fair enough. No one cares. And then Kassad just replied with, because, it's Kassad. This is like what old Rich would have done. You are a moron. Move on. Then it goes, maybe, but I'm a decent human. Hope you will have a little bit of success to make your heart lighter. And that's where that went. Remember, all Kassad did was just post his schedule. I don't even understand why anyone would get bent out of shape with that. And I don't know, just pointing this out, random Twitter user, mega horny beetle, laughing my ass off your French. So, just another productive day on Twitter in the world of esports. Just a bit of banter. Right, anyway, so that's how that went down. But then that isn't even the end of it, because obviously why would it be? KRL sat and thought long and hard about his next response. He's been bantered, he's been called a moron. It's been pointed out that he may be French. So he sat. He's like, how am I going to get Kassad? So now... he posted this and critiqued the schedule and explain. By the way, right, like this might not mean that you might go, "Oh, who the fuck's KRL?" KRL, like one of the legendary IGLs from Source, right? So he does have some insight into this stuff. He just critiqued Kassad's schedule, just fucking roasted him. And he said, terrible schedule with almost no break for the players between qualifiers. It's great to see teams work hard, but players also need rest, especially in a very important week like this. Kassad was unable to manage their energies effectively, as evidenced by their best performance being during the first qualification. So he just absolutely fucking roasted him there. He's just absolutely roasted him. And no response. No response from anyone related to Bleed. They've just left that there, right? So that's over. Now, also, there was another response. Probably someone you can imagine was waiting in the wings, waiting for Kassad's failure. If indeed you can call it a failure. By the way, I'll just say I don't think it was a failure. I think it was like, you're asking a lot. You're a new team. You've only just got together. You're thrown straight into a qualifier. It's an online qualifier. 1,024 teams. No way to prep for the teams. You just have to play your game. You don't even know what your game is because you're not even a team, right? You're just brand new. So I don't think it was a failure. I think it was just one of those things. It was too much too soon. And they weren't helped by circumstance, let's say. But Hooksy, literally, I mean, with like seconds of it being confirmed, Bleed weren't in the fucking next stage and weren't going to be at the major. Here it is. Hooksy. I was watching Kassad. I was watching you ruin Bleed's chances to qualify for the closed RMR qualifier. Now take responsibility and leave. And obviously, for those that don't know, that's echoing the infamous tweet that Kassad said when G2 didn't qualify for the major. Now, Reddit loved this, because of course they did. Remember, when Cadian calls someone a noob, it's bad. When Kassad said his tweet, it was bad. When Hooksy does this, it's not only good, it's epic. It's hilarious. It's epic. We be Hooksin! Right? And so everyone there, like, bro had this typed out before the blah, 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 blah. Sad that Bleed lost. Happy Hooksy won. Amen to that. We all love a bit of Hooksy, don't we? Another dog shit performance from Cypher, blah, blah. This is cold from Hooksy, but I love it. Extremely fucking rude. You love to see it. Hooksy 2, Kassad 0. Now, as is pointed out here, the RMRs did have a coach ban. So, I mean, and Kassad is a GM. So, just something to think about there. But anyway, here's the thing about this, right? And I'm just gonna say this. I'll go big head again for this. Right, so, listen. People go, oh, you hate Hooksy, you hate JKS, you hate these players that you, like, sort of break down stupid, lazy narratives about. I don't hate anybody. Like, you know, that's, like, mega childish way to think about the world. You're telling on yourself there. But, you know, what I will say is, like, Hooksy is an incredibly arrogant guy, and he's got no right to be. And I know people don't understand this. And it might be a defense mechanism because he's received a disproportionate amount of criticism in his life and sort of became a meme, even though that meme then later became a thing. But Hooksy has displayed a level of arrogance and which he absolutely should not, commensurate to his achievements. This is a guy who has literally created a world where he can never fail, and he has gone on desks and said in interviews, if you criticize me and say I'm a bad IGL, you don't know shit about the game. That's literally what he said. He said it on a desk, he said it in interviews. So in other words, if you're watching Hooksy play and you think he's bad, or you think they've called a bad strat there, you don't know what you're talking about. But if they win a tournament and everyone goes, Happy Hooksin, then yeah, obviously Hooksy. So it's nonsense. And by the way, he is objectively a terrible player for Tier 1. He's the worst active Tier 1 pro. Maybe there might be one or two other names in the mix, but he's bottom 3. And a very mediocre IGL. It's a very, very mediocre IGL. Doesn't call sophisticated tactics. Doesn't, you know, like the 2 tournaments they've won, not only did they happen after player breaks, so they were, not only did... not only did the tournaments they win happen round one, the Blast Worlds going into a break, Katowice coming out of a break, and then the other one they won was again after the summer break. So they won 3 tournaments either side of breaks, and that's when you're playing dead teams or new teams. And it just so happened that while that was going on, you had people playing well above their level. You had Munacy popping off, Hunter popping off, even JKS popped off in some games and for some tournaments, particularly Katowice, because that's what the K in JKS stands for, right? That's what it took for them to drag that dog shit player, that dog shit IGL over the line. And that's reality. People don't like that that's reality because he's an affable guy, he's a nice guy, and that's fine. You're the one playing favourites, though. I'm the one being objective. And I can easily prove this because when Hooksy was falsely accused of something, I debunked it and published an article about it because I won't have that happen to anybody. It's nothing personal. If I see Hooksy in Denmark, let's say I go out to the major to hang out, I'll buy him a beer and we'll all be friends. This is about this. It's not about that. But, that being said, his arrogance is outrageous. And so with that in mind, let's just bring that fucking tweet up again. And let's just think long and hard about why this sort of I love a bit of banter, and I think people should be able to trash talk, and it can even have a real edge to it, a real malevolence, if you want, in some cases. Not everyone is meant to be getting along. But he said, I was watching Kassad, I was watching you ruin Bleed's chances to qualify for the closed RMR qualifier, and I take responsibility and leave. Now, obviously, all Kassad has done is build the team. You can say that, he's not there immediately, directly inputting the game because of the coach ban. He's an interim coach, I believe, at the moment. At least he was when we did our interview in the Richard Lewis show. So, okay, let's think. Bleed, brand new team, assembled, not one single player in the top 50 in the world, right? Hooksy failed with a team that had 3 players in the top 20. And as I've said multiple times, you go, but they won their first tournaments in 5 years. That G2 team was meant to have an era. They didn't have an era because of Hooksy and JKS not being up to par. That's the hard pill to swallow, guys. They should have won every tournament. They had the best young AWPer in the world. They had the second best player in the world. They had Hunter, who's like a top 20 player, but has been for like a couple of years. They had JKS. You're all telling me he's a legendary anchor. So, do you think that maybe having your IGL play at 0.8 every single event might have hampered them somewhat? They should have literally had a major. They didn't. They didn't even qualify for one. And we're all going to sit here and pretend that, Hooksy's done well. He hasn't. His failure, it doesn't matter that they won 3 tournaments. His failure is that they didn't win 8. You know what I mean? Because they should have done. Think about FaZe at the end of this year once CS2 come out. What did they win? 5 tournaments or something? With Carrigan? It's like day and night. You know what I mean? And they even got to finals after they knew Twist was leaving and stuff like this. So the idea that criticism is valid or funny, it's not. It really speaks to the arrogance of the guy. And by the way, it's fine to be arrogant about your craft. He's being arrogant about his job. I'm sure he's a nice, humble dude in real life. But at the end of the day, mate, he's got no right to have that level of arrogance. And that criticism is really fucking silly. Because in his mind, he's comparing Bleed and G2. And there just is no comparison there. Dexter said, stop blaming Kassad. Bleed didn't have enough time to prepare. You can't replace teamwork by anything. He means with anything. It comes after a long time of playing together. And everybody was like, yeah, you just auditioning for the team. Blood just wants in on the team. He's not Hooks in. And that was that. So, next in the line of issues, let's have this. All of that brouhaha about the qualifiers. Oh, why did Bleed not get to do it? Where is the rules? And here we go. You can see here, this is a report from bo3.gg, I think. It was an absolute record. More than 3,000 teams registered for the open qualification for the PGL Major Copenhagen 2024 for the Chinese region. I don't think it's just China. I think it's all of Asia, but whatever. Maybe I'm wrong. Again, 3,186 teams. Oh yeah, it is just the Chinese qualifier, and then only 2 teams will advance to the Asia Pacific RMR. So they had a Chinese Pacific qualifier and got 3,180, whatever the fuck it was, 86 teams. So that is insane, by the way. Now, first of all, there should have just been uncapped limits on all the regions, and then we would have had record-breaking interest. But that is insane. That's like unprecedented for China. Like, Counter-Strike is obviously popular in China, right? And has been for a while. But that sort of level of growth is wild. I mean, it's crazy to think that for just a Chinese qualifier, you could get that many teams, and you're whittling that down to 2, right? So that's ridiculous. And I've said for a long time, problems with the Chinese government aside, if you want your game, if you want any game to really be successful, you know, in a global context, having interest in the Chinese region is paramount. You know, you need that. And it's just another thing that makes me laugh when everyone's going, it's a dead game, the game's over, the competitive side will die if Valve don't do the things I want them to do. It's just pathetic. On that note, let's also check in with a bit of CS2 bad, with a classic. Like, you remember how you used to get CSGO'd and everybody would say, oh, he's been CSGO'd there, the game's broken. And then CS2 got released and everyone was like, the hit reg in CSGO was perfect. It's like, why did we used to use the phrase CSGO'd? What did that mean? Well, anyway, let me show you this. This is from Twitter. An account that I noticed I had blocked for some reason. I don't know why. Probably just a melt based on this. ESC Gaming's Tension got CS2'd at the most important moment of his life. This is from Thor CS2. What you see is not what you get, right? And he played this clip to show. This was in a sort of, you can see it's a close game. 11-9, right? He's, you know, he gets CS2'd. So let's have a look at the CS2. Right? And that gets posted up there. And everyone's like, oh no, he's been CS2'd. The game's so bad. And people just jumped on that bandwagon like immediately because of course they did, right? Then somebody actually did the homework, went into the demo, had a look at it. And look at it again. And again. Yeah, he just fucking straight up missed. He just straight up missed. And people were whining about that, right? He just fucking straight up missed. What was really funny, actually, I don't know if you saw it. I've never seen this before. I guess we've come a long way. By the way, that was Fresco that did that. Fresco HQD on Twitter. He'll probably take that and use it as a fucking ident, but good on him. It's good that people are applying, you know, critical thinking and using their fucking brains instead of just jumping on bandwagons. Need more of that. I don't know if you saw, but he actually got community noted. I've never seen this over a clip on CS. But look, the demo shows that Tension missed his shot, hitting slightly to the left of the player model, which can be seen in this video that shows it from a better angle. I've never seen that. You've been got. But this is the ridiculous like thing at the moment, dude. Like, people are just so quick to jump on bullshit about being critical about CS2. It's just all of it's just fucking nonsense. Oh yeah, a bug popped up in the game, which has since been patched out in a patch note. Big ol' Semphis coming in with this one. And you can see here, a new bug that lost us around at the RMR. If you AWP window under Heaven on Nuke, the T model doesn't render for the CT, but the T can see the CT the entire time regardless of weapon. And you can see there, even though it's got the enemy thing in there, the model hasn't rendered, and you can get murked, you know, back on its down. So quite a big bug, which got fixed pretty quickly. Shout out to Semphis for getting that one. Although, you know, it's worth noting, the qualifiers were played with that bug in until it got patched. So, cool, I guess. Then we had this. obviously one of the things that happens in these RMRs is, you know, people are looking for the conflict of interest because people have like academy teams and stuff like that. And the rules explicitly say that, you know, you can only enter one team into these tournaments. And so some people have, you know, tried to game the system a little bit. And I'm not saying that this is what happened here, but let's just get into this. There's an org called Aurora, and this was pointed out by M&M's, the journalist, again, one of my colleagues, one of the guys doing good work. There was a team called the Aurora Youngbloods, and they entered this tournament not under contract with Aurora and under a different name. And then they got picked up once the qualifiers concluded. Now, I'll just say, I understand why you would want to pick this team up. Because if the Astralis neck ratio rule is true, look at that one on the left. Fuck me. Look at the snack on that. That's a fucking banger-langer, isn't it? Like, you know what I mean? Like, put it this way. If he just turned and started eating leaves out of a tree, you wouldn't even bat a fucking eyelid, boys. Like, you would just be like, yeah, they do that. Anyway, to get it clear, what happened is the contract's finished. They entered the RMRs, and then immediately upon going out of the RMRs, they got re-signed by Aurora. Now, this is one of those incidents where, you know, I've got some thoughts on this and how we can, like, maybe do this kind of better in future, but people aren't going to like the suggestions. Aurora did respond to this because it, like, blew up because there was, like, statements from the tournament operator saying, you know, look, we asked for the paperwork. They weren't under contract. What can we do? This is what Aurora said. Hello, everyone. The management is here. Like, fucking really strange way of fucking selling it, you know. Like, hi, everyone. Management here. We would like to clarify a little the situation that has generated a lot of negativity around the lads from the academy. It's like, oh, hi, everyone. Won't somebody think of the lads, and the situation with their participation in the qualifiers? Yes, they did have their contracts expire at the end of the year. And yes, we did not sign the new ones so that they could play open qualifiers for the RMR. The organisation had a verbal agreement with players that we wouldn't put sticks in the wheels if lads would pass the qualifiers, and we would discuss the extension of contracts right after the qualifiers. PGL contacted us and asked to provide them with the new contracts. Everything needed had been provided, and the organisers had no further questions. We never turn our backs on people we care about, and we're excited to have them back. The CEO of Aurora, sponsored by 1xBet, so you know it's legit. Now, what I would say with this is, do we even have a rulebook? I haven't even looked at the fucking up-to-date rulebook for this particular qualifier. I don't know if it's just the same as the other ones, or if it's like a PGL-specific thing, or a Valve-specific thing, or if I have to go into that fucking GitHub and do that. But anyway, my understanding is I don't think this is a rule, so correct me if I'm wrong, and we'll edit it out so I'm not wrong in YouTube. But why don't we just make it so if you enter a team with like a dog shit name because you know you're trying to game the system, that's the name you have to play with at the major? And I know that's going to stop people getting picked up by orgs and stuff, but who gives a fuck? Because what would have happened here is they would have played a tournament with just this little gap in contracts to sort of get through the loophole, and then they would have been picked up again if they qualified. So you would have had Aurora and the Aurora Academy. You know, so I don't know. That kind of like, but ultimately, I'll also say if the rules allow for this gaming of the system and they game it, power to them. I mean, it's the least of Counter-Strike's worries in terms of conflict of interest and, you know, lack of integrity and all that stuff. So there was that. We even got a little bit of conflict of interest right at the end. Now, the one thing I want to do just before we go and have a look at the teams and who's playing and what's going on and all of that, I do just want to remind people that for the last RMR, everyone's going, oh, it's so sad. It's so sad. The RMR qualifiers were a fucking disaster for Paris. I don't know if people remember that. They got the Gonzo Awards, like, worst fucking event of the year. There was a ton of stuff. And just to remind everybody, there were cheating bans at that as well. It happened in CSGO, right? Your precious CSGO, and it happened in an RMR for Paris, which you all wanked off about as being the best major of all time. A player got banned for cheating during the match at the US Open qualifier. Cheating in open qualification still needs to be solved, right? Banned during a match, no less. So these things like happen. There was like as I say, just go read the Gonzo Awards article on it. There was a ton of fucking shittiness. And it's like I say, we can either keep doing this and hope that by some miracle, no one's going to try to cheat, everyone's going to do their job properly, everyone's going to get it right, or we can change how we do these things and stop having these stupid, huge, sprawling open qualifiers with amateurs in. It's just not like how a fucking, major qualifier should be. Serious world championships in sports do not operate this way and never have. So, PGL have, after all of that, after all the sound and the fury, and I probably missed out another half a dozen dramas, how the fuck do you even begin to sort of sum it all up? PGL did give us the breakdown of which teams are going to be in, and you can see these are the EU1 qualified teams. So, looking pretty good. We're going to have FaZe, we're going to have Virtus Pro, we're going to have Na'Vi, we're going to have G2, we're going to have Eternal Fire. By the way, it finally happened in Eternal Fire. You got Woxic and Xantares in the same fucking team. And they absolutely smashed. They smashed some heads in. But James Banks would have been proud. Amcal, Bet Boom, 3D Max, 9 Pandas, Saw, Movistar, Koi as they are now, Into the Breach, Nip, X, Thunder Flash, Fnatic, and Falcons. So plenty of opportunity to spam your LGBT support logo in that one. And then we have on the other European RMR, the qualified teams, Vitality, Mouse, Spirit, Monty, Cloud9, Apex, Astralis, Preezy Esport, Gamer Legion, Guild Eagles, Ents, Ecstatic, Pera, OG, Nexus, and Heroic. Heroic also sort of limped their way through. So that's going to take place next month. It's going to start on Valentine's Day, so we're going to see who the real incels actually are. It's going to be funny. There's going to be people streaming that. It's like, it's Valentine's Day, bro. Like, yeah, we'll see. We'll see. And I'll be there. Calling you an incel, of course, before I go out on a hot date. That's what I'm going to be doing. But anyway, then you've got, it runs right the way between the 14th all the way through to the 24th, because there is a last chance qualifier as well. So far, I have to say, even though the RMR's qualifiers were a shit show, the standard of teams there is pretty good, and obviously because it's CS2, I expect there to be some upsets. I expect there to be some teams that haven't quite adjusted. There's some new lineups that maybe haven't found their footing yet. There's some orgs that have shadows cast over them, like Preezy, who just put themselves up for sale, and in another classic cynical move. Oh, hey, yeah, we're in the RMR, guys. We're gonna get some attention. Want to buy us? Anyone? So yeah, but that's that. That was all of the RMR drama, or most of it. That's what you missed in that wonderful online tournament. Still a shit show. Time to change the way we do things, I think. Let's see if we learn by the time we're doing it in glorious China.